Who is that?
Well, that's Dr. Travis. He's one of our members. He's been here for a really long time.
Looks familiar to me. What kind of doctor is he?
He's the lucky kind.
Rolling.
Dr. T loves women. He truly loves women. And as much as he thinks he knows about women, he's looked at women all his life, I think, through the wrong end.
Couldn't have it any other way.
It's incredibly fresh. I've not seen this movie before, and for me, a very different character. This guy's a country club gynecologist, very straight, probably the straightest character I've ever played. A really good, solid guy. He loves his family.
Women are, by nature, they are saints. They're sacred and they should be treated as such.
The writer describes this as being the story of Job, as if Job was a gynecologist. And it is in a way. It's, everything is right according to the way it's supposed to be. And one day of his life, everything falls apart.
I liked that it was a story about a man finding himself in a sea of women. I know a lot of men like this who are surrounded by women and raised by women and have to sort of break free from them in order to rediscover themselves.
Action.
We started with Richard, and we had so many women. We had actually 9 principals. Helen Hunt, and Farrah Fawcett, and Laura Dern, and Shelley Long, and Tara Reid, Kate Hudson, and Liv Tyler.
I think I'm being followed.
And then we have about 50 other actors, female actresses in it. Most of those were cast in Dallas.
There's a very high estrogen factor on the set right now, and in this movie.
They're all wonderful, and it's all improvisational stuff. They're all patients and nurses, etc., in Dr. T's office.
Hi, I'm Bree.
Sully Travis.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Are you Dr. Travis?
Yeah, or Dr. T.
It's unlike any other part I've played or
Dr.
seen in
T.
that she is thrilled to be with him, and then
Never
if she has
seen a
another
woman
person in
like
her
you.
life,
I
as
got
long
it.
as she's not lying to anybody, she can be absolutely present with that person too.
Give us another minute. Yes, Carol.
Very many people out
Give us
there.
one more minute,
Women
please.
people, Dr. T.
Richard's like this man who's stuck in this world of chaos where all these women who you think would be perfect are just, in their own way, just slightly off. And it creates this intense, chaotic energy. And Richard is just sort of planted in the middle of it.
I don't know what to say.
There's just too many women. He's got his wife, Farrah Fawcett, who's been incarcerated because she's not tracking very well in the real world. He's got his sister-in-law, Laura Dern, who lives with him with her 3 little girls.
I really didn't know how Peggy would end up in the film, and I don't know that Bob did either. And we just sort of said, let's see day by day where the character takes us. That's been so fun.
He's got his 2 daughters who are in their 20s. He's got his nurse, Shelley Long, and then all the women in his office, his patients. And he's just swimming in a sea of women.
It's not a spectrum, it's a speculum, just one.
Cut. Okay, that's good. That's best. Okay, print that.
The biggest surprise is the kind of control that Bob exerts, a structure that he gives the work without ever letting you see it. Now, you feel that on a subconscious level, that you've got a safety net around you all the time, but it's not obvious.
There are people who make movies every blue moon, and there are people who are just constantly creative, and I feel like part of his creativity comes from the volume, actually, from the fact that he's prolific. That's actually part of what his creative drive is about. It's completely opposite from my nature, and I find it totally fascinating.
Robert Altman has this innate respect for actors.
He's honest, he doesn't lie to you.
He gives actors just so much freedom and room to just explore.
The truth is, it's been very free for all of us.
He's brutally honest.
He listens.
God came down and just brushed him and gave him this gift.
He creates the most amazing environments. Directors usually kind of keep you in a square and you can't really go out of that. And in this film, there is no square.
He loves being talked about, but when people boast you know, tell him how wonderful he is and how genius. He looks at them, and no matter if they're being honest and genuine, he'll be, you're full of shit. And that's where he's great.
I'm really happy. Yeah, and go and go and go. That's it.
I've known Richard for many years. We tried to do something together 15, 20 years ago.
And there's several projects that we were on the edge of doing. And I remember one in particular that we both had loved, and we couldn't get it financed, and we realized that our careers were really in bad shape because we couldn't get these financed.
Oh, everything looks great. You look absolutely fantastic, actually.
Richard was perfect for this because he is the icon of, like the People magazine said, the sexiest man in the world. And I think that a lot of these women, old and young, when they say, oh, I'm going to go to Richard Gere, my gynecologist, they swoon.
With Richard, he's so handsome and he's so charming, and he, you know, flashes that smile, and I think it'd be really tough to stay out of the way of, you know, certain fantasies and things that you don't really want going on during those exams. So, no, if Richard or Dr. T were available as an OBGYN, I would be finding other medical assistants for that.
Richard Gere is really grounding and compassionate, and I think his faith and his being makes him a really special man to be around. He's a lovely energy. You smile every time you see him on set. He's unbelievably handsome, and he makes everybody really comfortable. You know, couldn't think of a better man to give me away. The first one, you know? My dad might be jealous.
In a scene, he gives you so much, and he really listens to you. And he, when you're doing a scene with him, he listens to you, and he takes it in, and he gives you something back that you didn't even expect. And you catch it in that moment, and it's so real that it makes you respond with something else that's so great. And doing a scene with Richard's like playing tennis. He gives you something great, and you give it back, and it goes back and forth. And you finish a scene, and you're like, wow.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm originally from Connecticut, but I've been living in Houston.
Houston.
Definitely uncomfortable to have Richard Gere looking in between your legs all day long. I'm here for a bridesmaid. It was funny because he didn't really know what he was doing with all the tools and utensils, and I was sort of like, no, it would go a bit lower. Put that there.
He's so generous of spirit, generous as an actor. He's very kind. I mean, I'm not going to go into the obvious. Yes, he's sexy. Yes, he's handsome. But he's really very centered, very calm, very giving as an actor.
Hey, honey. Hello. Hi, sweetie. How are you doing? Good. Come on in. Hi. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Who's this from?
No, it's Chris.
There's no car.
That's incredible. Having the experience of your director coming up and saying, okay, these cameras are in these positions. This is what the scene is. Anything you read in the script, don't worry about that right now. I'm gonna run the camera for 10 minutes. This is sort of what I think you're doing. This is sort of what I think you're doing. Just go.
There was so much great improv going on. Everybody was in their own world, and once again, the extras were brilliant and a part of the scene just as much as any of us were.
He lets you make these choices that might work and might not work, but at least you get to try them. And they're so out there that if it works, it becomes brilliant, you know? And that's something where Bob is one of a kind.
He stood in the middle of like 50 women with this certain megaphone, put it down, and he directed each and every person in the room. And some of the people had never acted before in their lives, and he was able to tell everybody something to do and how to, if this happens, this is what, you know, and everybody got it, and everybody was amazing and natural and free.
I've never seen extras be better in my life. These 30 women I was working with were as good as an actor can be.
I really try to get the actors together and not answer too many of their questions and see what they, and hopefully they're going to give me something that I hadn't seen before, and that will, I figure I have to be thrilled if I expect the audience to be thrilled. I have to be moved if I expect the audience to be moved.
The script is so amazing. It's something that I think I've never really ever seen done in a movie before, where it's so real about family and relationships and what you really go through, the happiness, the sadness, the jealousy, the anger.
There are very few non-chaotic moments in this movie. Helen and Richard being one, and Marilyn and I being one, and it's these real people coming into our lives that make it something really, really beautiful.
Cheers.
To you?
I think they just have chemistry. And she sort of has her own kind of philosophy about the way she has romance in her life.
Hey, Dr. T, the Phillies are getting a little restless.
Most humor becomes meaningful when there's emotion. Behind it, under it, over it, around it, somewhere. Our hearts open. When our hearts laugh, it's a much fuller laugh than when our head laughs or our other parts of our anatomy laugh.
This cast was quite remarkable about how it came together and became an ensemble. And it's really, they're orbiting around Richard, and the film looks pretty good to me.
Ain't it something, ain't it something, ain't it something how the way things go? Ain't it something, ain't it something, ain't it something how the way things go?